Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm so excited for season 2 and the great guests you're going to hear from, their struggles, how they overcame their struggles, their triumphs. Through personal and business life, I think they're tied together, and we're going to share great stories about that. This show isn't just about me. It takes a lot of good people working with me. Among them is my partner, H7 Network, and Clay Hicks. Building relationships, building community is the mission of H7 Network. They want to create a network of champions where everybody wins. Find out more at h7network.com. And we hope to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you through our show. Enjoy the show. We'll talk to you on the other side. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Steve Ramona, with the podcast, Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. We're going to delve into the education field, and this guest I have, who's a part 2, his second appearance, is going to talk about how helping guests and also how to help your long-term care, how you can, when you retire and when you get older, how you can protect yourself with that as well. Bill, welcome to the show again.
It's my pleasure, Steve. Thank you for having me, and it's always enjoyable to talk to you, whether it's on this podcast or in one of our many meetings together.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Well, let's delve into it. You know, we talked before the show. You have a cool way of helping teachers grow their income. Let's talk about that.
So, yeah, I mean, when we're dealing with teachers and school administrators, I think it falls behind not knowing the full picture. And so they have this thing called a 403B, which is similar to our 401k. And the short end of the stick for the teachers and administrators is that school districts or the charter schools do not match their contribution. So the money sits into an account which they don't really have control over or have a personal relationship with their investment person of a large corporation. And it kind of just is there free floating like an amoeba, right? And you don't have true say or choice of what you want it to be put in. And it's just being set up the wrong way. So when you think about this, in the 1960s and 70s, corporate America set up a 401k and 403bs. And that's great for as a business write-off and to lower your income for tax purposes. But the negative of this is that upon distribution or when you really need it, Uncle Sam's going to take a minimum of 30% off the top. And that tax is money that you put away for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So wouldn't it be better if you took that and placed it into a nice, neat little income tax-free savings, self-funded pension plan where you earn in this economy, potentially double digits return year after year in an income tax-free structure. So what you earn is what you keep. And that's really my concern.
By getting this message out, what's the importance of it?
I think people are in the status quo market, and they had a wake-up call when the stock market crashed and they saw their life savings drop by some people 40%, some people 25%, and it's crawling back up. But it in the end, it might mean that they have to work an extra 3 to 5 years. And who wants to do that? So this call is to just educate others that there's a better way to do a 401k or a 403b, especially in the market where you're not being compensated for that, which falls upon the teachers. And I want to make them aware of it.
Great information. And can this work with any teacher in any school district, or is it limited?
No, it's any teacher in the continental and the 2 extra states, it works with. So if their school district or charter school or special needs school has a 403b or their version of a 401k, however they understand it, and they don't do any matching, it's kind of a waste of your time. Okay. You need to redirect those funds and do a self-made pension instead in an income tax-free environment.
You're going to save a lot of money too, and that's huge, especially for
Yep.
teachers. They don't make a lot of income. which is a problem in my eyes. They need to make more, but we won't get into that. So a teacher reaches out to you. What's their journey with you to get this going, and what do you do?
So first we have a conversation and we look at the big picture. We look to see if they have a pension that they're eligible for once they get uh, their permanent status with the school, and what does that funding look like, and what's the numerator and what's the denominator. A lot of schools it's 36, other schools it's 42 on the denominator, and then the years that they've worked in the numerator side. And then they usually take the highest 3 years salary that they've earned, combine it and divide by 3, come up with a number, and then the numerator over the denominator is their retirement fund. But what you can't count on in the future is Social Security and inflation and healthcare cost. So you need to have a pretty good understanding of what that monthly egg is going to be, or that monthly nut's going to be
Yeah.
for in your retirement years. And the scary part is the average age of people living is up to age 87. That means 50% of the population lives beyond 87. And if you retire at 67, that's 20 years of money that you have to have set aside for your retirement. So what happens if you outlive your retirement savings? Do you need to work as a greeter at Walmart at age 88, right? And that's really the concern. Are you even in the health to do that? So you have to plan now, and you're going to usually the question is, well, is it too late? Not really. It's never too late. The best time to start asking questions is now, whether you're 20 or 60. It doesn't really matter. There's always something you can do to make it better.
Yeah, if you can say 5% or 50%, 5% is better than zero or negative. And I like that because
Yep.
it's never too late to start this. So, to recap for the listeners, any teachers out there listening, they have to have a 403B set up for this to work. And I don't know, do all teachers have that? I don't know how that works.
So it depends on the school districts, but
Okay.
I'm going to say the majority of the school districts have a 403B, or in our terms of the laymen who are not teachers, administrators, a 401k. Either one is not your best alternative for retirement.
So this will work with people with 401ks as well.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. There are a lot of people out there with those. So there's a
Yes.
large market.
Yeah. So the 401k people, or the people that leave a job or have left multiple jobs, and it's just sitting in a fund because they don't know what to do with it, you can do this thing called a consolidation plan where you consolidate all of them, bring them together, and then pay your taxes now, and then put it in an income tax free growth structure. And that's really prepared. That gives you one of your streams of income for retirement. That's step one, right? And then step two would be to start your own self funded pension, either with contribution from your 401k or as a separate thing. So you want to have multiple streams of income coming in retirement so that you don't have to go back to work.
Yeah. Do you have a good story from a teacher you've worked with and end result?
Well, yeah, sadly, I do have a good story, and I say sadly because this person worked 42 years in the school district of New Jersey, and they they were set to retire. And when they looked at their funds and their expenses and how much they owed on their mortgage, they realized they had to go back to work for another 5 years. And so I took a look at her situation, and what I figured out is that the 5 years would be ideal. 7 years would be perfect because then, even though she'd be working till she was 72, that there would be that extra 2 years made all the difference in the world because of Social Security. Because if you work until 71 Social Security, it's an extra $800 a month to you. And she didn't live like high off the hog, is what I'll say, right? She lived
Mhm.
a conservative life. But what I did was I consolidated everything and had her pay her taxes now. Okay. And now this fund it's called a Fidelity Mid Cap Fund, and it's a 200% mid cap. and exclusive to Transamerica. And basically what this fund does is it takes your money, and it has performed for the last 15 years at 8.72. But for simplicity's sake, we're just going to say 8. Okay. And because it's a 200% mid cap, means that it doubles. So if it performs at 8, you earn 16. Now, the glorious part of this, for those that are not mathematically inclined, is it has a written bottom, which means that if the market crashes, there's a 0.42 bottom positive, so that if the total economy tanks, you'll still stay positive at a 0.42. Okay, so you won't lose like other funds lose in 20 to 35 to 40%.
Yeah.
So it protects you that way. It's a safe investment. But anybody would say to you, if your thing is performing at 8% and then it doubles to 16, right? 16% return year after year as an average, not guaranteed. Wow. That means your money doubles under the rule of 72, every 5 years or so, so that the taxes that you paid out in your lump sum distribution, you make all that back and then some. So that's really the beautiful thing of this. And hopefully I didn't overtalk it or make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, let's fix that by saying, how can they shout out how they can get a hold of you? So ask more questions if it was a little complex and how you can break it down. Because we're in a podcast, you're giving great information. At least it's going to spur people to reach out to you. So how can they get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is Bill at perfectlyimperfectfamilies.com, and or my cell, which is 267-278-5062. And I have this thing called an in-phone as well. Many people should be aware of it. It's a great business tool, and that is easily used as well. And that's just HTTPS with a colon / info.co, then another / WJW.
And we'll put all that in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And if you're a teacher out there, what's it going to cost you? A 15, 20-minute call or an email to ask to see if you fit. And if you fit, Bill's going to be all over it and take care of you, which is why you're a servant's heart. Let's jump into the other side of the coin, which is still retirement, but the health side of it. You had mentioned, we talked before the show about long-term care. We know the cost is going up. I just talked to my cousin yesterday at dinner, and her mom was in a senior care living facility 8 years ago, or probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, no, probably 8 years ago. And it's doubled in price since she's passed away. Well, how can you help that?
Here's the numbers. Right now, the average cost in a senior care facility, if it's a full-time, full-service facility, is around $130,000 a year. Right? That's the average cost, and it's only going to go up. And if you have Medicare, it's only going to pay the first 100 days, and then you're left on your own, right? And then it caps out. So specifically on my website, I have advice, but I'm going to simplify it for everybody. You have to make a decision. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation with both your aging parents and yourself, and say, as I go into my golden years, what do I want? I don't want to be a burden to my children, but do I want to stay at home? And if I stay at home, what does that look like? So here's the good news. If you stay at home, the average cost for a home healthcare aide, not a nurse, but a home healthcare aide, is $27 an hour. And the average amount that a home healthcare aide is needed is between 20 and 30 hours a week. Now, what does a home healthcare aide do? If you have trouble with balance, if you have trouble bathing, if you have trouble cooking safely, doing the wash, doing general light cleanup, if you need to be driven to doctor's appointments and and things like that, that's where the home health care aid comes into play, right? And now, and so they get paid $27 an hour or less. We found ours through our church, so it was less than 27 an hour. But the point is that if you enjoy the comforts of your own home and freedom, when you're older, say in your 80s, when this really tends to happen, the average length of stay is between 48 to 51 months. So if you can do the math for 48 months and you know that you're going to need 20 to 30 hours a week as an average, you kind of have a figure in mind of what that nut has to be, right? And the best way to do this, and as an industry secret, which I'm not supposed to share, is the fact that you can have it as a rider on your life insurance policy. And it's 50% of the cost. So you don't have to go through all the red tape and the extra health questions. And it's just an added rider in your health insurance policy. And it's in effect. So as long as your premiums are up to date or paid off, you have this excess money that's set aside for long-term care, whether it's 200,000 or 400,000, whatever the number is that you want. And the beauty of this is the fact that it's set up already for you, and it's the money that they're going to be paid from is from your death benefit that's sitting in your life insurance policy. So you're not pulling from savings, and you're creating a game plan that you can have, and you don't, when you get this money and it's distributed to you, you don't have to get an accounting for it. Meaning, if you get $3,000 a month and you only use 2,200, it's okay. You don't have to give the 800 back. It just sits into your account and you do it for distribution later on, right?
Right.
So these are all the positives.
So explain rider for people that don't know much about life insurance, how that works and what that entails for people.
Sure. So in a life insurance policy, you have an elective that's sort of like a la carte, right? And so, when you go through a food line, you say, you know what? I really like beets, so I'm going to put it on my plate, right? So it's the same thing. You go through um, the elective coverages, and some of them is this. Some people choose to have a double indemnity so that they have an emergency catastrophic injury, they get twice the death benefit. And it's a choice, and there's a cost associated. So you have your initial cost for your life insurance policy, whether it's term or whole life, and then you got additional rider expense,
Mhm.
which would be for long-term care. And in most cases, and this is the part that'll make you laugh, it could be as little as $30 or as much as $80 extra a month that you're putting away, right? So it's
Wow.
very affordable as a rider, as opposed to if you got a long-term care package as a direct purchase for the product, right? Its average is going to be between 150 to $250 a month, right? And it's for something that may be used,
Mm-hmm.
right? This takes out that worriment that it may be used, okay, and puts it into, if you use it, you have a plan. And if you don't, the money stays in as your death benefit. So you don't use it or lose it. It's there if you need it. It's like a safety blanket, right?
Yep. Yep. And I know family members that their dad passed away and they had long term care and he put $38,000 into it and gone.
Yes. And that's the other nightmare because you've had people that were operating from companies that are no longer around, that were in it in the 70s and 80s at its heyday. And it's really a shame. So with Transamerica, which has been around for over 150 years and, you know, AAA rated and a very safe and large organization, you don't have those worries. They're not going anywhere. They're
Yeah.
fiscally sound.
And a question that comes to my head that I think because I always like to think like the listener is this rider going to be enough money for me to have that long term care, to care of myself either at home or at a senior housing facility?
I think yes and no. So it depends on your choice,
Okay.
right? So you, and when we sit down, we have to have that conversation. What is your preference? Okay. Now, if your preference is to stay at home because that's what you're used to, and we do the math in front of you and we figure it out, this might be a very good band-aid, meaning that it gives you $400,000 towards it, right? And if you use it, great. If you don't use it, great, right? But it's money that's available that's not going to be pulled from your savings because you want to kind of leave a legacy for your children. You want to one up what your parents did for you, right? And when you fund that legacy or you leave that legacy, it's it's a goodwill feeling that you're passing down forward to the next generation, that they're going to think of you favorably, and it's a great feeling. It's like Christmas morning every day.
I love that. That's a great way of explaining it because I've heard a number of people explain it. Bill, that's done really well, for people to understand. What is with long-term care, people listening, what do they do wrong with that?
I don't think they understand that 70% of the population is going to go on long-term care plan, whether they want to or not. It just happens through stat. And so you kind of, it's going to happen. It's just the same thing as disability insurance, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have, before the age of 50, a percentage of the population that's going to go on disability insurance, whether it's short term, long term, permanent, right? So you're purchasing peace of mind, and this, you have to decide how you want to live in, in in your golden years. I mean, and it's not an easy subject to have with your parents because you have to make sure that they're mentally cognizant and aware. And what I did with mine, when we sat down, I asked them what they wanted. And my dad passed before my mom, and then my mom passed, and she didn't have a long-term care package. And so the reason why my heart is for this is because I knew what her wishes were, and they were in writing, which is the key. So I honored her wishes, but she never got involved with the long-term care plan. My wife and I were her long-term care plan, and we organized it. And if you go to my website, you'll see my story. But I learned from the School of Hard Knocks that you can take care of with someone through love, but you're going to make mistakes. So when you speak with me, I'm going to eliminate the mistake quotient and expedite the learning curve from personal experience so that they get the services they need and deserve. But we want to get this information in writing and laminated. Now, why do I say that? Because as a person isn't as sharp as they were when they were younger, you kind of want to show them it's in their writing,
Yeah.
it is their signature, and we're doing what their wishes were, so that you're honoring their legacy of how they want to live out the final years of their lives. And that's really important.
That's the it's so important. And you're helping people. And that's the thing why I love having you on my show. And I want to do a shout out because we're running out of time here. That Bill works with special need parents with their finances because there's such a challenge with that. We got into it in the first podcast. So find Bill in my channel, look for that YouTube channel show, and learn about that as well because I love what he's doing. I love how he's niching out, helping these people who need a lot of help. So God bless you, Bill, for doing that. Can you do me one more favor?
Yes, sir.
Is there a tip out there you can give my audience that will help them in their journey through all this insurance muck that they have to go through?
Um, I'm going to say something that I'm not supposed to say, which is, you have a friend in the Lord, right? And if you just reach into him and dig in and you pray and you ask for wisdom and discernment, that's step one. And then step two is that ask a friend, ask somebody you trust, try to get a conversation going and see what other people do. And ultimately, just reach out and have a conversation with me because I don't charge for my advice. Uh, I just help people get organized, right? And so I just want to help people. I come to them with a servant's heart. I'm wide open with that, and just trust in the Lord, and He will guide you in the right way.